Hey everyone, I'm Justin Simmons. I'm the high school and college pastor,
And I'm Becky Nance. I am the elementary coordinator here.
and we've made it to our final week of our Advent series.
Yes.
We're helping families talk about the words of the Advent season, and we've gotten to week 4, which is joy.
Joy.
And joy, the word that we use for joy, Becky, you pronounced it so much better than me. What was it?
The word is kara,
Kara.
and it's actually where we get the name Kara.
Oh, so if your name's Kara, congratulations. You are very joyful. But Kara, so the word joy, as described in the Bible, is more than just a feeling.
Yeah.
It's more than just a feeling. It's more than just being happy. It's an attitude, actually, that God's people adopt.
Yeah.
Because if you read lots of the Old Testament, things didn't always go well.
No.
And so God's people continually had to have joy in the midst of hard circumstances. And so it's this decision between faith and hope, which we talked about earlier. And so it's that decision, that attitude that they have to adopt more than just a happy feeling to embrace feeling of joy. And so how do we see that play out in the scripture?
Yeah, a lot, actually. There's 3 really, really cool examples. Do you remember the story of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, running from the Egyptians?
I do. I saw the
Remember that?
movie. Yep.
Good job. Way to be spiritual. What we find is that as soon as they've crossed the Red Sea, they're still in the desert, they're still going, what do we do now? But the very first thing that they do is they sing for joy.
Yes.
They're
Yep.
celebrating what God has done and what God will continue to do. In the Psalms, the book of Psalms, it kind of goes up and down. The writer, it's written mostly by David, and he's either really, really depressed, totally wondering what to do, or he's singing for joy. He's constantly telling the Israelites, sing for joy, celebrate what God has done. And then we also find when the Israelites have been taken captive, they are in a foreign country, they are slaves, and the prophets are constantly saying, hey, this is bad now, and we can have joy because we know that our God will be faithful. He will restore everything that we've lost. So look ahead, have an attitude of looking ahead, and that's where our joy comes from.
Yeah. And then ultimately in the Advent season, we get to the point that Jesus is that joy that we have.
Yes.
He brings joy. His life, his death, his resurrection brings us joy, inner joy, and we get to be joyful in the season because of what Jesus did.
Because of what Jesus did.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
how do we talk about this concept with kids? And I'll talk about teenagers in a minute.
All right. So the first thing I think we need to recognize is that joy, we have to be careful. It's not a coping mechanism. We can't just use it to level the playing field anytime anything goes wrong. Well, you're just supposed to turn your frown upside down. You're just supposed to be happy. We have to recognize that anger, sadness, frustration, those are all real things. They're not bad. God gave us those emotions. And Scripture says over and over again, we can find joy in the life that sometimes goes great and sometimes isn't going the way we want it. For kids, especially, I find that for my own kids, they can be really, really joyful one minute, and then the next minute, something has gone terribly wrong. It's usually they can't find the remote.
Yeah, you turn Bluey off.
Yes.
And then
It's
no
just
more
like
joy in our
game
house.
over.
Nope.
Yeah, joy is gone. Joy does not exist anymore. And so what I think it's important to do is remember that 2 things can be true at the same time. You can have joy even when something isn't going the right way. And then finding ways to remind your kids to look ahead, look around, what's going on. Is this situation really, really as bad as you think it's going to be? A couple of things that I do with my own kids, I make them give me a list of 10 things to be thankful for. I hated it when my mom did that. She made me do it. Oh, I hated it. But it turns out it is a way to refocus, reframe the way we're experiencing something. Another thing that I really encourage parents to do is talk about ways to find joy, because it's not all happy all the time, but we can experience joy. So doing something for someone else, gosh darn it, that is a really, really good way to find joy. Find joy in just living ordinary life. I feel like, and we do this a lot in the Christmas season, we are just barreling towards gifts and presents and good food and all the things. And sometimes that can twist everything else and make it feel ordinary or boring. We get that word in my house a lot. I'm bored. Really?
Yeah.
So it can be really easy as parents to go, well, you shouldn't have anything to be bored about. You should, you have all these toys. But to actually be intentional and cultivate conversations and experiences, just the simplicity of turning music on, painting, coloring, going on a walk, cooking. My kids can sit and watch TV or they can cook with me. Does it make it harder for me sometimes? Yes. And they find so much joy in that. They find so much joy just talking to me. And then the third thing that I would really recommend is, we've talked a lot about, like, it's an attitude of looking ahead. Your testimony to your children, your stories of how God has been good and faithful and has brought you joy will speak volumes. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, as kids' worlds are growing, you get a chance to show them in that big worldview that they can have joy in everything. It's not just about being happy all the time.
Yes, yeah.
So when you talk to teenagers, we're going to start, I guess, I would recommend you start with that word happiness, because that's just the word that can kind of capture them a little bit. And the best question I like to ask is, how would you describe your perfect day? How would you describe your perfect day? And you start to see the wheels turning a little bit, because they're like, well, I never had a perfect day. If you were to just pick everything you had to do from morning, noon, and night, what would you do? And if you need to have a note card or the napkin or something for them to write it down, or they can just talk about it with you there. The goal is just to get their brains turning on what makes them happy, what brings them that joy, that like temporary, immediate joy. And then if you could get that list of like what that perfect day would be, asking the follow-up questions on like, well, why'd you pick this? And why'd you pick this? And why'd you pick this? And normally what we can find is there's some friends likely involved, there's some hobbies that are involved, there's some interests, there's some time to relax, whatever that is in their life, you can get to the meaning behind that thing and realize what is it about that friend that really brings them so much maybe happiness, joy, or even like peace in their life. And so starting with that perfect day allows you to open the kind of the floodgates of what things are exciting to them, what things bring them happiness, and then you can get to the point of how those things can be taken place. Even if those things go wrong or they're not happening every single day, we can still choose to have joy in the midst of everything. And the Christmas season still reminds us of that. And then it points to Jesus as our ultimate source of joy, because that perfect day can't happen every single day. But Jesus is with us every single day. So that's what I would recommend. Any last notes?
I would just say, as we're in a season where instant gratification and consuming is at the forefront of all of our minds, remember that is not where our joy comes from. And in fact, when Scripture talks about God, it says God is joy. Not God is like joy, not God is giving us joy. God is joy. So when we are present with God, we are experiencing that joy simply because we are experiencing His presence. So
let's not forget that during the Advent season. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We look forward to seeing you at a Christmas Eve service near you.